Hey guys, welcome to IB Economics. This particular unit, 2.2, is looking at supply. So here's a supply curve. The market supply is the sum of all of the individual producers' supply. And you can see there on the diagram that the supply curve slopes up from left to right. Again, it's called a curve. We normally draw it as a straight line. Price on the vertical axis, quantity along the horizontal axis. So that indicates to us that the price goes up, we're going to supply more. The price goes down, we're going to supply less. And similarly to demand, we have a law of supply in economics which explains that the higher the price, the larger the quantity that the firms will be willing to supply, other things being equal. And we just get this movement which we refer to as sort of extensions of supply when supply increases, or contractions in supply when the supply decreases. So price will only ever move us along the supply curve. These are the factors that lead to a shift in the supply curve. So we call them non-price determinants of supply. You need to learn the list. Many of them refer to costs of production. So if costs go up, supply is likely to fall. We see taxes and subsidies in there, related goods, so competitive and joint supply, expectations about future prices, number of firms in the market, quite similar in some ways to the non-price determinants of demand. So if any of those change, we're likely to see a shift in the demand in the supply curve. Just be careful with shifting supply. Sometimes particularly if you draw the supply curve fairly flat, a curve that's drawn to the right looks like it's underneath that first supply curve. You might think that's lower. It's not. Any shift to the right of a supply curve is always an increase, right? So shifts to the right are an increase in supply, shifts to the left are a decrease. Now, what I suggest you do here is just pause the video for a moment and take a look at these 7 questions. I'm going to go through them in the video, so if you pause here and actually answer the questions, you'll then be able to sort of check your understanding of these price and non-price determinants of supply over the next sort of 7 slides or so. Okay, so just start working on those questions and then restart the video. So the first one was, what would happen to supply of bicycles if there's an increase in tax? So tax we always regard as a cost of production. It's levied on the producer. So that's going to shift the supply to the left because it's an increased cost for producers. Now, of course, they're going to try and pass on this increased cost in higher prices. That's another matter. First and foremost, it's a cost of production, so shift supply to the left from S to S1 there. Second one was the supply of foreign holidays if the price fell. So assuming that there are producers of foreign holidays like travel agents or Sunwing, tour companies, Air Canada here in Canada provide many holidays. If the price fell, so they're going to receive less money for selling these foreign holidays, it's just a movement along the original supply curve. So we're going to call it a contraction. So we distinguish between that and a decrease, which is a fall, actual shift. Third one was supply of flat screen TVs. If there's an increase in the price of components, so it costs more, the raw materials have become more expensive to make these flat screen TVs. So it's an increased cost of production there. So again, as a result of increased costs, firms are disincentivized to produce as much. Supply shifts to the left from S to S1. And we might start now seeing, with the impact on price. So price now appears to have gone up in this market. Supply of cars if governments subsidize car production. So again, similar to taxes, the subsidy is given to the producer, or the assumption from us is that it's given to the producer so it can contribute towards paying some of their costs of production. So in effect, their costs have gone down. So lower costs, a more profitable business to be in, car production now. We're going to see an increase in supply from S1 to S2, and probably a decrease in price. And whether that fall in price is the complete size of the subsidy or not depends on a number of factors that you'll come up against later. Supply of white bread if demand for brown bread increased, which the baker could also produce. Example of competitive supply. So the baker can do one or the other. Demand for brown bread has increased. Probably the price has increased. More profitable to do brown bread. The baker will supply more brown bread, but the supply of white bread will shift to the left. There will be a decrease in the supply of white bread. Supply of carrots, if there are fewer farms growing carrots, so it's a fairly straightforward one. The number of producers in the market has decreased, so there's fewer farms growing carrots. If that's the case, then we're likely to see fewer carrots finding their way onto the market. Supply of carrots is decreasing from S to S1, and we see a shift to the left, and probably an increase in price of carrots because of that shortage of carrots that's being created. And the last one is an increase in the demand for wheat on the supply of straw. This is an example of joint supply. If you supply one, you automatically supply the other. It's a byproduct. So farmers who grow wheat, they've seen the price of wheat go up because of the increased demand. They'll want to grow more wheat. Once they've harvested wheat, what's left is like a small sort of tuft left of the wheat crop. It's straw. They will harvest that, bundle it up and sell it as straw. It's a byproduct of their wheat production. Higher level students amongst you will just need to know this reference to the law of diminishing marginal returns. It's another way of explaining why supply increase is only when the price goes up. We talked about profit, that's one sort of motivation, but there's also a view that the law of diminishing marginal returns applies. So as firms employ more resources, each extra resource they employ is not quite as good as the previous one. They've employed all the good ones first. So it costs them more effectively to produce one more unit, the marginal unit. So the only way they can be encouraged to produce more, to supply more, is if the price increases. And that also then explains why the supply curve is upward sloping. Okay, I hope that you found this particular video useful as a summary of supply. If you want to see more of my videos, then go to my channel and subscribe.